And I believe we are live. I have a sign that says this hangout is live. Good evening, Sasnaks. Hi, everyone. I'm Fumbi with We So Nerdy, back again with Katie for another discussion of Outlander. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I know you're feeling really, really good tonight. So how's everything going, Katie?
Oh, it's fantastic. Like, everything is sunshine and happiness at this point because I know what we're getting soon and I cannot wait. I feel like it's been 20 years since I've seen them together. And so I can't wait for this. I'm excited.
Absolutely. You see this grin on my face? I cannot get this grin on my face. I'm so excited. I'm so happy. And we're here. Okay, I need to calm down.
Yay.
Bring it down. Okay, so a few reminders, guys, before we get into talking about freedom and whiskey. So tonight is the last night to enter our giveaway for our 3-year blogiversary. So we're giving away a paperback. So one of the prizes, I should say, is a paperback of Voyager, along with a pre-order for the Outlander Season 3 soundtrack. So I've included the link below, so please go take a look and go enter if you haven't already before midnight Eastern time. So definitely go check that out and enter, and you never know, you might be a winner. Also, I have included the link to our recap for Freedom and Whiskey, our full recap. Katie actually wrote tonight's recap, and it's absolutely fabulous. So again, the link is below. There are new... What am I doing? Here. There are new clips included, including that last minute and a half of tonight's episode. So you should go check that out as well. Also, I wanted to thank you guys, always thank you for watching and for sharing your comments with us. This week, there was a very, very robust conversation, or I should say several robust conversations going on in comments, and that's what this is supposed to be. I know I have very unpopular opinions when it comes to Outlander, and I think that's okay, right? So it's okay. We can agree, we can disagree, but just having the opportunity to talk with you guys and hear about your perspectives, I feel like a better fan, like a better reader, just by doing that. So I really, really hope that you'll keep on commenting and sharing your thoughts with us. Katie, anything else?
I completely agree. I love the conversations that we have in the comments, and the insight that is given from other people that have made me kind of look at situations differently, like with Fergus a couple weeks ago. And so, yeah, just keep commenting and we'll keep having these discussions. Also, do not miss out on the giveaway. It's fantastic. Like, I love the Outlander soundtracks so much. So enter, you may win, and you'll get these fabulous prizes, and it'll be wonderful. So do not forget to do that. And that's my reminders.
Those are great reminders. Okay, so let us go ahead and start talking. I feel like we are going to say freedom and whiskey like 8,000 times.
And I'm so okay with that, because like when I say freedom and whiskey, I just feel like, I don't know, they go together so well. Like, it just seems so, I don't know, Scottish.
Scottish and perfect. So yeah. We're going to say freedom and whiskey. We're probably going to drink some whiskey. I don't really have whiskey. It might be fake whiskey, but that's absolutely fine. Yeah. Okay, so every week Stars comes out with a new hashtag for that particular episode, right? So for this week's episode, the hashtag was impossible choices. So that I saw that, and having seen the episode, it makes quite a bit of sense. So I thought we could open the conversation up tonight by thinking about those impossible choices, those difficult choices that we see Claire, Bree, and Roger struggling with tonight.
Oh, goodness. Well, I think it's so obvious with Claire. what her impossible choice is, because she has this opportunity to see Jamie again and to be and maybe be a part of his life, because she does have a very big hunch to go on that Alexander Malcolm is, Jamie. But at the same time, she risks never seeing Bree again. And that is such a hard choice to make, especially with Frank having recently passed away and all of those feelings that she has. And I imagine some of it goes back to even Frank right before his death saying, you haven't been here. And her feeling that guilt for not being there for Bree. And now she's like, I'm not going to abandon my daughter. Like, this is my time to be there for her. And so that is such an impossible choice for Claire. And I don't think that she would have made it without Bree's insistence. Like, Bree was so insistent that she do this, that she go and see Jamie or try and see Jamie. And I don't think Claire would have gone if she had felt even a little bit of doubt from Bree about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's how, I don't know what you, Katie, or you guys watching thought when you first saw it, but I was taken aback by Claire's sort of, maybe is hostility, maybe hostility is too strong of a word, but it did feel like she resented Roger a little bit. Like, you came here, it wasn't for a visit, and now you're trying to turn my life upside down, right? So I'm sure Roger arrived and he's thinking, oh, this is great. I'll bring this news that, Freedom and Whiskey, Malcolm, that this is Jamie. Won't Claire be pleased? And then Claire is like, not pleased. Claire is very angry, and she's like, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask you to do this. So I was really, really shocked by that sort of initial hostility towards Roger.
I can see that too. And I think that's part of Claire just kind of putting to rest Jamie not, being in her life again. And so she's kind of put that away. And that is not an impossible choice she has to make anymore. Like, she doesn't have to choose between Bree and Jamie because Jamie's no longer an option. And then Roger's like, oh my gosh, look what I just found. You're going to be so happy. And she's like, you've just ruined everything. And he's all of a sudden like, well, by the way, I just came for an American Christmas too. So not just for this. I'm also interested in your lobster rolls and your Boston cream pie. And it's like, it's too late, Roger. It's too late.
No.
Like, you're so sweet and precious, and we love you anyway.
Yeah, that's good. I think I perceive that. I see what you're saying, right? So, like, we even saw it in last week's episode too, right? Every time they'd be searching a new document, they'd go to a new archive or something, and, you could see Claire sort of like holding her breath, and then, it wouldn't pan out, and then there'd be a little bit of disappointment, right? So even in last week's episode, you can feel her hesitancy. So I guess it makes quite a bit of sense, right? That even though Roger would come and say, I'm like, what did he say? I'm like a dog with a bone or something.
I'm a dog with a bone.
Yeah, I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm a historian, so I'm just going to keep on looking and look what I found. And she's like, 20 years ago, I gave this up. Literally months ago when I tried again, I gave this up, and now you're back again, after I've given this up, trying to rekindle something in me. And I don't want to.
Yeah, I think I think Claire's kind of regulated this part of her life to the past, and I think she even says it, to Roger. Maybe is it Roger that she tells it? I locked this part away. In my past, this is 20 years has gone by, and I think the idea of Jamie and the love she has for Jamie is still real, but there's also that, well, what do I do now? Because I have Bree and I'd love to see Jamie, but what do I do? Yeah. And then on the other hand, she has her daughter, and Bree is not doing well. Like, Bree is not doing well coping with Frank's death.
We can talk about that.
Is not doing well coping with the fact that she's found out who her real father is. And Bree has so much going on right now that there's no way that it's an easy choice for Claire to say, okay, I'm just going to go to Scotland and try and go through the stones and see how it goes. Yeah. Knowing her daughter is in such a sensitive place.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because you're absolutely right. Tonight's episode, especially at the beginning, Bree was really, really struggling, and that was evident. And I just think, how do I phrase this? I'm not surprised by that. I mean, it seems really almost nonsensical, right? That Bree would have, like, the life that she thought she had, her life as she knows it, was completely blown apart when she was in Scotland, right? Like, the man who she believed to be her father isn't her biological father, even though he loved her very much. And, you know, hearing about her mom having this wacky experience going back through time, right? Everything she's known has really been called into question. So it makes absolute sense to me that Bree would struggle, right, with these questions. Who am I? Am I still my father's daughter? Which father's daughter? You know what I mean? Like, these really core questions about her identity. It makes quite a bit of sense that she would struggle with it. And even like her major, you know, she's a history major, but I feel like she's a history major probably because of Frank, not that she doesn't love history, but it wouldn't surprise me if maybe like 70% of that choice was because she idolized, you know, her father. So her struggle felt very real to me. I felt it deeply.
Exactly. There's the one scene where she takes Roger to Harvard to kind of look around the campus, and Roger, of course, has this very, you know, can you imagine the conversations that have happened here? And he's, you know, very, you know, historian oriented, and Bree is very much, you know, I've never really thought of that. You know, I've always thought about how the stones hold each other up. And then she goes kind of on a tangent about how history is sort of a lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says, well, you know, you don't sound like a historian's daughter. And she's like, I'm not, am I?
Yeah.
And she's grappling with, you know, am I Frank's daughter? Am I this Jamie who I've never met? Am I his daughter? What aspects of them do I have? And then, you know, it's so much for Bree to deal with. And you know she misses Frank. She looks at Frank's chair. She sits at his chair. She smells his pipe, because that's probably something that she associates greatly with her memories of her father. That just broke my heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when she's with Roger, she's wearing a plaid poncho.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, she's grappling with, who am I? You know, am I this Harvard going historian major, or am I something else? And if so, what is that something else?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure she was wearing a plaid skirt at one point too. So yeah, there was definitely something going on there. No, but I mean, what she says to Roger, she says, what is history? Like, it's just a story. History can't be trusted, right? And I was just thinking, so I was live tweeting tonight, and like I was thinking to myself, that's a really, really like existential question, right? Like, what is history? Who gets to decide what is history? And then, of course, because I'm your friend Katie, I thought to myself, who lives, who dies, who tells your story? So I was like, ham for Outlander.
Yes, hashtag ham for Outlander. Let's go. Yes, because I'm not even lying. When they talked about like the Revolution and Paul Revere, and I was like, so we have a chance to bring Alexander into this, do we? Because everything comes back to Hamilton for me.
Everything. But, yeah. Well, especially in this time period, but we don't want to go that far, because we
that's start a crossover fic waiting to happen that I'm not.
Well, a crossover fic, but then we also actually start getting into like bookish things that we might not want to get into yet. But but Bree questioning history questioning sort of her life as she knows it. I also thought it was interesting, like the conversation that she has about Claire, has with Claire about Sandy. And I was just thinking to myself, right? Like, so her father, Frank, the man that she's idolized, and suddenly, well, maybe not so sudden, I guess we can talk about that. It seems that this man who was perfect in her mind was also very flawed, right? That he had this like super long-term mistress who definitely just showed up and confronted her mom at this memorial service. So that was, yeah.
See, and there's a part of me, and I feel very sympathetic or empathetic for Bree, because she's got so much going on right now. You know, I mean, she's still dealing with the loss of Frank. She's dealing with this knowledge of Jamie. I really think that she holds some resentment towards her mother that she's really not fully kind of come to terms with either. And then we have Sandy, and she says, you know, we saw her at a bookshop once, and you know, Daddy looked at her the way he used to look at you.
Yes.
And I mean, I can imagine, even though they didn't have a great relationship, to have your daughter point out just how in name your marriage had become to someone that she had seen in passing like once. I mean, that probably hurt Claire a little bit, and then she decides to come clean with what Roger found. But I want to ask you something, because I want to ask you something. So, as I was watching this, and especially after, you know, Bree learns that Roger has found some evidence of Jamie being alive, do you think that Bree really pushes Claire away super easily? Because whenever I was watching it, it almost seemed like it wouldn't have been like, I know Bree loves her mother and wants her mother happy, but it almost seemed like it was an easy push, like she needed some distance from her mom.
I mean, it's interesting that you ask that. That's not how I perceive it. I mean, I think, and this actually goes back to this conversation we've been having about Bree and Bree having an identity crisis of sorts. I think that Bree feels quite a bit of guilt. I think she feels guilty for the sake of Frank, that Frank was in love with this other woman, and for my sake, he denied himself being with this other woman so we could be in a family together. I think she feels guilty for Claire, right? That you gave up this man that you loved for me. So I don't know that I'd say that it's super easy for Bree to push Claire away, but I think it's exactly as Bree says, which is that I can give Jamie back to you now, and I want to give Jamie back to you now. So I think it comes from a place of love, but I also think it comes from a little bit of guilt too.
Okay, I can totally see that. Kind of how you explained it, and I can see that now, especially her conversation after talking about Sandy, where she says, you know, Daddy must have, you say I look just like Jamie, you know, Daddy must have hated me. And then she asks, you know, Claire, you know, you must have resented me for having to come back. And so thinking about all of that, I can definitely see where Bree would kind of use this as her opportunity to say, go, you know, be with him, and kind of, it would be a way to alleviate some of that guilt.
Yeah.
That she holds, like that her mom would have a second chance.
Yeah. No, every time, I was just thinking this to myself, every time Bree calls Claire mama, like my heart just squeezed inside of my chest. you can tell that for so long their relationship has been strained. So the fact that they can take this time together, even though there were some really heated moments, right? In particular, their argument over whether or not Bree would quit Harvard, but sort of moving beyond that, you could tell that Bree and Claire were getting really, really close again. And gosh, that line, I'm more you than I am either of my fathers.
Yes.
So you can tell that Bree, she's working through it. She's working through it. She's still working through it. But what she does know is that she loves her mother. And that her mother, I mean, right? What is a mother's love? You know what I mean? And that her mother desperately loves her. So the fact that they can at least get to that understanding, I think is a really, really lovely thing.
I do. And whenever she said, I realized that I'm more like you than, either of them. After Claire gets in the taxi and leaves, Bree has a moment where she hugs Roger, she's crying, but she goes to the kitchen and she does a very Claire thing where she takes a deep breath and she kind of just stills herself, and then she just like brings forth this, strong, steel spine type thing, and she moves on, and that's such a Claire moment for me, is when she kind of went to the kitchen and took that breath and then put on the Santa hat and was like, hey, here's our American Christmas.
Here's our American Christmas. I really, so I know that, I don't know if I should mention this. I'm going to mention it. I know that there's some, people aren't happy with Bree's portrayal in the TV show. That's just something that I've been reading, like, in different places and hearing in different places. People are not happy with the way Bree is being portrayed on the show. And I have to disagree. I really disagree. I felt it. I felt Bree's guilt. I felt her identity crisis. I felt the love that she had for her mother. And I mean, I love Bree so, so much for what she did tonight, which is saying that I'm grown now. I'm an adult. I love you, but I don't need you like I did. Go. And I love Bree for that. I love the way that it was portrayed on the show. So I'm actually quite happy with the way that the storyline unfolded.
I had no idea that there was any kind of talk of Bree's portrayal in the TV show, but I mean, I think she's done I think it's been done a wonderful job of kind of showing her inner turmoil and the way she's dealt with these situations. And like you said, I mean, you can see her grief, you can see her struggle, you can see the love that she has for her mother. Just in, the necklace she gives her to pass through the stones. It's not just a random necklace, it's her birthstone. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like she's, giving her this permission and saying, take a piece of me to get back to Jamie.
Yeah.
Because this is what you need. And I love the portrayal of Bree.
I loved it too. When she said, go find my father and give him this, and then gives her a kiss on the cheek, and you're just like, oh my goodness, this is so, I thought it was just lovely. And Claire, like you said, Claire wouldn't have gone without it. If we sort of take a step back and we think about it, and we try to think about Claire's frame of mind from the beginning of the episode, where she's like, Roger, you shouldn't have come here, I didn't ask you for this, to the end where she goes to Scotland to Craigna Dunn. If you think of sort of the process of Claire getting from A to B, having this permission of sorts from Bree, having this support from Bree, this encouragement from Bree is so important and so critical in that decision.
It is. And I mean, I don't think there's no way Claire would have gone without Bree's blessing. And there was one thing that I wrote down that I wanted to, because Claire, you know, Roger comes at a very inopportune time. They're arguing. They're having a bit of a fight, and it's because, you know, Claire is withdrawing from Harvard and she's moving out. And then later in that night, Claire asks Roger, you know, have you been back to Inverness? And he's like, you know, no, with father gone, it's just books and dust. And that really resonated with me, because the fact that Claire and that Bree wants to move out has nothing to do with her trying to like be rude and kind of leave her mom, but I think it's wanting to distance herself from what used to be a place where Frank was, where there's all these memories of Frank. And when I think Roger says that, you know, I think Claire sort of makes that connection, and she's like, you know, I'm glad you're here. Maybe you can talk to Bree about your loss, and maybe that can help her a little bit.
Yeah.
And so there's so much going on with Bree.
Yeah.
And I really like how they've portrayed her, and I think she's wonderful, and I think that without her, there's no way Claire would have gone back.
Yeah. No, I think, and I mean, you guys, I hope that you'll share your thoughts on what, you know, how you are interpreting and perceiving the portrayal of Bree, but I think Sophie Skelton is doing a great job. I think, yeah, I say that and I leave it at that. I mean, there's a lot of complexity that in Bree's character, and I'm really enjoying the way that it is coming out on the screen. Okay. So let us continue this conversation we're having about Claire's decision to go back to Scotland. So if Bree is a really big part of that decision, who or what else stands out to you as being an important part of Claire's decision to go back to 1766?
Joe, 110%. Joe Abernathy. He is fantastic and wonderful and a king among men, and I adore him.
Joe is my man. Joe is so my man. I mentioned this when Joe and Claire first meet. That's in episode 2 when Claire and Joe first meet. And I was so happy for that friendship. And you can tell over the last 15 years, like Joe is literally her number 2 person that has seen her through so many things, that has been by her side in school and in personal circumstances. So the fact that when Claire tells Joe that, you know, this other man is Bree's real father, and she's debating, you know, whether or not I should go back. And he says that, you know, I've seen you for the last 15 years and you've lived a half life. You deserve to be happy, and Bree will understand. She needed to hear that, and Joe was the perfect person to deliver that message.
Oh, yes. I mean, he has known her, like you said, for so long. They've been through so much together. I mean, I think that they're very close. They're best friends in a way. I mean, they've done so much together. At the beginning of the episode, they're doing that surgery, and I mean, you can tell that he trusts her, and that, you know, she's kind of, that they work well together. But he looks at her all the time, and he's like, you know, give me the dirt.
Yeah.
Tell me about this man in Scotland.
Yeah.
And
like your bestie would, right? Like your bestie would sit you down, and your bestie was like, okay, give me the tea. Give me the tea. What's going on? Tell me what's going on. Tell me about this dude.
Exactly. And he has like the most perfect segues. He's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, bones don't lie. And he's like, bones don't lie. So when are you going to tell me about this guy from Scotland? I was like, is that like, you just like totally went for it, Joe, didn't you?
But even it still, I maintain it. He still comes. He comes with the best advice. Like when Claire is like, oh, you know, fate drove us apart, and Joe comes back and he's like, whatever, fuck fate. And it's like, hashtag, like, that is the hashtag of my life. You know what I mean? Which is, again, what she needed to hear, right? Like, there have been so many, you have denied yourself, for one reason or another, you have denied yourself this joy, this happiness for so long. And if there's a chance for you to get it back, don't let something like fate stand in your way. Your daughter will understand, right? So just go for it.
Exactly. And I mean, and you know, he asked the question when they were watching the Apollo 8 mission. The Apollo 8 mission, you know, after being on a trip like that, how do you come back to living your normal life? And I don't think Claire has ever really, I mean, she's lived her life, she's done incredible things, but she's always attached to that past, to Jamie, and she hasn't really, you know, let go of that. And that normal life has never really fell back into place for her. And I mean, fate got her to Jamie in the first place. So how are you going to just say, well, you know, fate had other plans? No, I mean, I stand with Joe, you know, fuck fate. Like, make it on your own.
That's
like,
a hashtag too. Hashtag I stand with Joe.
I stand with Joe. I mean, definitely.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Joe's the man. Joe is the man. And so Bree, I agree with you completely. Joe was really necessary. And so I'm going to put this out there, and I don't know what you, Katie, or you folks who are watching are going to think. So
you're going to say Sandy, aren't you?
I am going to say Sandy.
I knew it.
I think it's true. So if we're thinking about, right, the question we're asking or the question we're evaluating is, oh gosh, I'm being such a prof about this. The question we're evaluating is the steps that took Claire from saying no, she wasn't going to go to Scotland, to going back in time, right? So we've said Bree is one, Joe is one. I think Sandy is one. And that's the thing. Please understand, I recognize that she's dealing with grief herself, but she doesn't know Claire's story, right? So for her to approach Claire and say that, you know, you lived a lie and you made Frank and Bree live a lie too, or something like that, I just thought she went too far with that. But I do think that snapped something in Claire as well, right? That, you know, Frank did sort of live a partial lie in staying in the marriage. But the thing is that Claire did too. So
they had agreed upon that.
Yeah,
that was they agreed upon together.
They did, but it wasn't optimal for either of them. So Sandy, the last thing Sandy says is that if I could have even one, that Frank was the love of my life, so much so that I was willing to share him with you. If I could have one more day with him, that would be enough. So I think that snaps something with Claire, right? Because Claire does have the love of her life, who she found out is still out there. And if she could just have one more day with him, it would be enough, right? So I do think Sandy is part of that picture. I do.
Yeah, so you said that would be enough, and I went back to Ham.
Ham for Outlander. Ham for
Outlander. Anyways, but no, I think you're exactly right, because as soon as you were like, there's one other person, and like it just hit me, like, right, I was like, Sandy. That moment she says, you threw away 20 years with him, and I would give anything for one more day. I mean, that is what Claire feels. Like, I would give anything for one more day with Jamie. I would give anything to have that last time that we were together, to know that would be the last time before. And Sandy does strike a nerve, and it does, I think it does help kind of get that ball rolling for Claire, that, you know, maybe this is my opportunity. Maybe this is the chance that I get, and, you know, I'm going to take my shot.
Yeah. Not going to start singing Outlander. I mean, Hamilton, because we'd be here all night. Oh, but I think that's so a couple things. So first, when Bree, going back a little bit, when Bree says to Claire that, you know, Daddy looked at her the way he used to look at you, that told me that Frank really did love Sandy.
Yeah.
And it's not that I necessarily doubted that. I didn't doubt it. But like, so for example, I think about the books. Like Book Frank had several extramarital affairs over the course of their marriage. And I mean, the TV show doesn't really tell us whether or not Frank has been with Sandy this whole time or has been with other people. But, you know, part of the reason, at least in the books, that Frank never left was that he did still feel a love for Claire. And the thing is that it seems that TV Frank had maybe completely fallen out of love with Claire and really was just sticking around for Bree's sake. So that's something that stood out to me, that wow, Frank really did love Sandy. And it made me even feel like even worse for Sandy. Not that I think she should have approached Claire like that. I don't think so, but I do feel bad for her. And hopefully she'll be okay. So that stood out to me. And it also stood out to me to think about the reason, like another reason why Claire wouldn't want to go back, which is that even though she still very much feels this love for Jamie, what if Jamie has forgotten her? As if that could happen, but we put it out there.
Well, and she even says that to Bree. She's like, you know, she lets her insecurities out. She says, you know, what if he's forgotten me? What if he's moved on? And you know, Bree said, Mama, if the love that you have for each other is how you explain it, how could he have forgotten you? You know, it's something like that. And that's kind of what Claire needs to hear. And she is worried. Like, she's worried about her appearance because 20 years has passed. So she dyes her hair to hide her gray. And she's so nervous.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I feel so for her to go to put herself in this position by going back through time. And what if he has moved on?
Yeah. No,
what if he loves her, he loves her, but he's like.
Also, Joe strikes again with another fantastic hashtagable line. What is it? You're a skinny white broad with too much hair, but a great ass. You're just like, you're such a great bestie.
I know. She's like, am I attractive sexually? And he's like, is this a trick question? Like, no, I know that you'll tell me the truth. Oh, he's perfect.
Joe is great. Joe is great. Perfect. And even their goodbye, that was really just, it was a bye and a Merry Christmas, but you felt that it was more than that. And it's like, oh, besties.
I know. I hope we see Joe again.
I hope we see Joe
because I like him so much, and I love him. He's fantastic.
Hashtag I stand with Joe.
I stand with Joe.
Okay, so Claire deals with Bree, or meets with Bree. She has Joe on her side. She doesn't. We'll say Sandy is on her side, but Sandy certainly helps. And then, like, everyone reassures her that Jamie is still gonna love her. So then the decision is made that she's going back in time.
Cue the Batman theme song.
You can't go back in time without a bat suit. Na 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 Batman.
Oh, that was perfection.
I thought that was really perfect too. So I think I was on Twitter and I read a tweet. I can't remember who wrote it, but it was just like in passing, like a tweet that said that you know, choosing the Batman theme song was probably more of an inside joke and it might not have been appropriate for the scene. And I'm like, I disagree with that out of hand. I thought it was perfect for that scene.
I think it's perfect because, like, throughout the episode, you had like random comments about television, like dark shadows and like TV television, and like Roger's like completely invested in this dark shadows episode, and so like the inclusion of that Batman theme, it was perfect for me.
I thought so too, and it does reflect the suit, right? That it is like a utility suit that I think is actually quite fashionable. Like I think the blue is quite lovely. I like the silhouette and the cape that she has. Plus it is essentially a giant raincoat, but it looks good. So I didn't know Claire had those sewing skills, but good for her.
I mean, that's what I was saying. Good for her. She was like, I'm going to make my own outfit. And so I was like, okay, I'm, just expecting something. And, she just pulls out this, like, her sewing machine and off she goes and it turns into that. And I was just like, well, apparently she's a great seamstress as well. Like, I decided that I was going to make something like that. Like those 10-minute Pinterest tutorials. Those aren't 10 minutes long. Claire would be on there like, let me show you how to make a utility dress in 1 hour. And I'd be like, this is going to take days. She pulls it off and everyone's like, it looks beautiful.
She's good. She's good. A competent doctor, and she can sew like a utility gown in that. I think that happened like in an evening.
Yeah, it happened in an evening. And she tells Bree, she's like, I made all your Halloween costumes. I'm like, Bree's Halloween costumes must have been like ridiculously complex to pull this off.
I know.
Like to have this much practice.
But it looks good. And actually, if you remember, so thinking about sort of how long the durability, let me put it that way, the durability of the bat suit. So if you recall the EW photo shoot, that Sam and Kate's EW photo shoot, that is what Claire is wearing. Like, she's not wearing the cape and she's not wearing the jacket, but she's wearing the skirt and she's wearing the blouse, Bree's blouse, right? So if you think about sort of the transition of how long the bat suit lasts, she uses it for quite a while.
I did not make that connection at all until this moment, but okay.
About it. I was just thinking about it. It came to me.
Okay. I'm here for it.
I know.
We can make that last a while. I'm fine with that.
I love Terry is such, like, just taking a step back and thinking about Claire's fashions. Terry and her team are so spectacular. Like, you think about how just in the span of 5 episodes, they take Claire from the 1940s to the late 1960s, back to the 1760s, and how in every single era, Claire looks fashionable, she looks on point, and I think Terry and her team are brilliant. So I just wanted to say that for no reason at all.
Oh, they are. They're fantastic. I mean, goodness gracious. The fashion and just her clothing and the fit of her clothing. And it's everybody. It's like the cast in general. They nail it every time. And all of Claire's dresses are just, oh my gosh, last season?
I know. I mean, if we sit here and start talking about Claire's fashion,
Claire's dresses for,
I know we'll be here for hours. But Terry and her team are fabulous. Are absolutely fabulous. So Claire decides she's going back, and she gives Bree one last thing. She gives Bree Ellen's pearls. I'm so emotional.
She does, and even Claire goes, hey, I might not be coming back. Jamie gave these to me on our wedding night. Maybe you can wear them at your wedding.
I know. That's what got me.
I'm not back. you know, wear these, or you can wear them. And oh, that was heart-wrenching. But I love that Bree has them. And I love that even though Claire has kind of gone back in time, she's still left with something of Jamie and something of Claire now.
Yes. Yes.
With that necklace. And it's just, it's lovely.
I know. That was such, like that entire scene was really bittersweet, you know? Like Claire and Bree saying goodbye to each other, but Roger is there. So Claire knows that Bree is gonna be okay. Like I think about my mom. Like, so my mom is like she's like super ethnic Nigerian mom, right? And my mom, thinking about my mother, she would not leave unless she knew that I had a partner as well, or had someone as well. So that's something that really resonated with me, was the fact that Claire knows that part of why Claire is willing to leave is that she knows that Bree will have Roger, and that Roger feels very deeply for her daughter.
Oh yeah, and whenever Roger leaves the room, and she says, you know, he's a good one, and Bree's like, I know. And that's sort of like, it's not an in-depth conversation at all, but it's just sort of a subtle nod to each other that this guy right here, he's a good guy. Yeah. And, you know, I, you know, if this, you know, moves forward in any way, know that I would be good with it if that happened.
Do you think Roger loves Bree? Like, is it too early for that?
Well, you're talking to someone who's an extreme romantic, and I'm just like, no,
we share that quality together.
Yeah, I'm like, it's completely fine. Obviously, they've known each other for, you know, a little while.
Yeah.
But if he's not in love with her, I think he feels very deeply for her, and it's to the point where he could easily fall in love given spending one-on-one time with her. Yeah. So yeah, I think if he's not, he's close to falling in love with her.
Yeah. No, even there. So when she comes out with the lobster rolls and the Boston cream pie, and he gives her a Christmas Carol, and they're sitting together. Well, they're sitting together. They share a kiss, and then she starts reading, and you're just like, this is like, he said that he wanted new traditions of his own. They literally just started a tradition. That's what we're witnessing right here. And I can't get this smile off my face because it's so lovely.
It is. I ship them so much. And that whole scene was just so warm and hopeful in this new beginning for both of them. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it made me so happy. I think it was so come together and kind of like you said, start this new tradition, and then we move to Claire, like, because we see that Bree and Roger are pretty solid, that things are going okay for them, and then we move to Claire, and she's about to take that step and kind of see how her side will pan out.
Yeah. I've actually been reading some comments that people have been writing in the live chat. So there are a couple questions that I wanted to throw out there, for all of us, which is that, so Mrs. Zombie Mummy says, I question why they made it at Christmas instead of Samhain Halloween, like in the book. And that is a really, really interesting question. The only thing I can think of is that Christmas is close to New Year, and a new year is synonymous with a new beginning, maybe, rather than like Halloween, which is in October, which isn't quite the end of the year. That's the only thing I can think of. But that is a question that they should maybe think about answering in the bonus features for the season 3 Blu-ray DVD.
Yeah.
And there are a couple hashtag I stand with Joes here.
Yeah.
So Barbara White Mellon says that she does think that Bree also feels guilty. She agrees with us. And also she's Jamie's daughter. How many times has Jamie made sacrifices for those he loves? She's doing what Jamie did and doing what she thinks is best for Claire. A fantastic point, Barbara. A fantastic point.
Very.
What else? Charles C. Parker. In the book, it was different on how she got the dress, but I love how they gave Claire another skill that she can use in the future. The future or in the past. The Batman song was amazing. Rest in peace, Adam West. Yes, rest in peace, Adam West. Will someone remind us? So I have read the books, but it's been a while since I've read them. So can you remind us how Claire got her bat suit in the books and how it's different from the TV show, please? Okay. So thank you guys so much for your comments. I hope you'll please keep commenting because I think I'm actually surprised that we didn't start here. And that is Claire steps in a puddle.
Yes.
In 1968 and then steps in a puddle in 1766. And she is in Scotland in 1766.
Yes. Oh my gosh, when she stepped into that puddle and like the scene changed and her clothing changed and it was cobblestone streets, I took like a deep gasp and I was like, she made it. She's here. It's happening. Oh my gosh.
Like, finally, we can breathe, right? Like, we've been holding our breath ever since Dragonfly and Amber in season 2, and now we can finally breathe, and it feels so good. I thought that transition, which is actually an adaptation of, I think, the prologue, Voyager's prologue, was really well done, right? Because, I mean, they could have shown us Claire going back to Scotland, going back to Inverness, going to Craignadoon, walking through those stones. But this was quite poetic. Plus, they filmed it in South Africa. They filmed that entire sort of scene in South Africa, which I think is pretty cool considering.
Yeah, I didn't know they filmed that there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was, Claire's there. She asks for Jamie's shop. She gets to the shop. And I just need to say that I think it follows from this point on. I think it follows the book so well that it's absolutely brilliant. Because Claire, she gets there, she goes to the shop, she's a little hesitant, she touches the sign, A. Malcolm. She walks up the stairs, opens the door, the bell rings, and she's inside, right? She looks around, and then she hears his voice. Is that you, Geordie? And she's like you can see her face just like snaps. And she looks, and she slowly makes her way there, and she's looking down at him, and is like, oh my goodness, you are literally alive. I don't even know how she opens her mouth to speak because, I might have passed out. Like, me, myself, I might have passed out if I were Claire.
I know. Oh, my gosh. She's standing there, and she's looking down at him, and I can't imagine what's going through her head. Like, this idea that maybe even still going back in time, she wouldn't have found him, or she might not have gotten to him, or maybe he's moved on. And she sees him, and it's just incredible. And it takes her a moment, and then she's like, it's not Geordie, it's me. And then, he tenses up, his shoulders tense, and he's just, in shock. It was so phenomenal.
It was. And I remember at Comic-Con, so when we were at Outlander panel in Comic-Con, they asked about filming the print shop scene, and Sam says something like, oh, you know, it's enough to make a grown man faint or something like that.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my goodness, they're going to go for it. They're going to go for it. And they totally did. Like, he turns and he looks, and you can see like he's questioning in his eyes, and then his eyes like sort of widen a little bit, and then he totally passes. He totally passes out.
He does. He like reaches back for the desk to like to steady himself, and then he just like he's gone.
And he's out.
That moment of Comic-Con where he said it's enough to make a man faint.
Oh,
something like that. I was just like, oh, that was just lovely, and I never even like thought about it until I watched this episode, and I was like, oh my god.
He literally meant that a grown man is going to faint. And like you can tell Claire's eyes like sort of widen too, and she's like, and then NC, and you're just like, yes, because you know it's coming.
Yes. Yes, and it's like, next. Where's the
next episode?
Of it.
What's the next episode? Because like from the preview, you know that it is going to be so juicy good. Like, this is what I am going to say this to you, Katie, and book readers and non-book readers. You are going to watch this episode, and then you do yourself a favor. Just go, even if you've never read the books, go to Voyager and just read the 30-ish pages that make up Jamie and Claire's reunion in the books. Watch the episode and then read that set of scenes in the book. And it is, do it and then thank me in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And then thank me.
See, I still need to read those pages. I need to read those pages.
Gosh. It's so, I said it, I've said this to Katie, and I will say it and say it and say it and say it. That episode is the best episode of Outlander I've ever seen. And we have like, how many episodes? 16 episodes in season 1, and 12 episodes in season 2, and 6 episodes in, up to 6 episodes in season 3. Out of all those episodes, this episode, Malcolm, is the best episode of Outlander I've ever seen. It is so phenomenally good. So good. Yeah,
I mean, Malcolm is phenomenal. It's really, yeah. So look forward to that. It's fantastic.
There was an EW interview that they did with Matthew Roberts, and he's the one who wrote the episode. And he said that, that the way this episode makes it so it's a thank you to fans for waiting, and that it's a thank you that says the wait was worth it. And Matthew Roberts, if you're watching, I thank you and I believe you. The wait was worth it because the episode is the best. I loved it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah. And so even though it doesn't premiere until October 22nd.
I know, not next week.
Not next week.
But you knew they were going to do that, right? Like you knew.
Yeah.
They were going to do it. I don't even know. I don't know why Outlander, like just thinking about the calendar, like why take a break next week? I just feel like they just did it.
Yeah, I think they just did it to have that week, just to have that cliffhanger for a week to make people kind of talk, and who knows, maybe they'll do like release something this coming week or some photos or something. But yeah, like whenever you pointed out to me the schedule and how the schedule skipped this week and moved to the 22nd for the 6th episode, I was like, oh my gosh, like people are like that. No.
Yeah.
No.
No, I mean, all I can say is that it's worth it. It's worth it. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. Oh gosh. So what else? I'm feeling really good.
I think it was great. It was it kind of tied up Claire's life in Boston for the moment. And we're on the way up, it feels like, and we're finally getting this reunion. And I say on the way up, it feels like, because I don't trust anything. And so
you shouldn't. Because again, like, book readers know that the reunion is fantastic, but like they say with honeymoon periods, right? Like, honeymoon periods don't last. So
yeah, so I know it's coming. I know it's coming, but I'm just gonna pretend.
No, that's fine. I think we should put all that to the side. That for now, we have been without Jamie and Claire for so long that we should have this time period to rejoice with one another. That Jamie and Claire are together, they have a reunion. But the thing that I love about the books that I think the show really gets is that 20 years have passed, right? And the memory of someone might not necessarily be the same as the person themselves. Does that make sense, right? That you have this memory, essentially in your memory. For example, if I'm Claire, Jamie has been frozen for 20 years, right? Yeah. Is this Jamie that I have in my mind, this memory of him, the same as the man now standing in front of me, right? And same with Jamie, right? That Claire has been frozen to me for 20 years, yet she is now about to be standing in front of me, right? Are these the same people, right? Is the connection still the same type of connection? It's a question, right? So it's a question that will certainly be answered too. And I can't wait. It's going to be so good.
I think that's a great question, because they are kind of frozen in each other's minds, and they're going to have to talk about their past at some point. I mean, because 20 years have passed, I don't think that she's just going to be like, let's pick up where we left off. It's going to be kind of like, what happened to you? How did this, so it'll be interesting.
Where have you been? What have you been doing?
Yeah, what's been going on? What's your, how are things for you here now?
How are things? Oh my goodness. Who would think that is such a loaded question?
I know, right? How are things? Well.
Okay, so I want to go back to comments, to the live chat one more time. So the question I asked, how did Claire get the suit in the book? Rosalva Cardiel says she bought it. Fair enough. And then Barbara White Mellon says, no bat suit in the books. That was just the show. A good addition, though, I think. And like I said, I think that may have been partially a tribute to Sam, who once played Batman. Kate often teases him about that. Oh, that I did not know. Okay, so maybe there is definitely like an inside joke sort of thing that made it onto the show. But I think it was a very nice addition. So Andrea says no, so I think referring back to the transition scene between 1968 and 1766, that it was filmed in Scotland. The South African scenes come later, but that's actually not the case. That transition scene was in fact filmed in South Africa. And yeah, as Rosalva Cardiel now says in the live chat, the writer said that they had a hard time getting that cab in Cape Town. So they had to find like a 1968 type cab that Claire could get into and film in front of green screen, her like driving away and then arriving in Scotland. So yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you guys for your comments. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's neat to see them pop up. Yeah.
And you guys know so much more, especially as it relates to the books. So I'm very, very grateful for you guys sharing that information. So Katie, that's all I have. Do you have anything else you want to say? Anything else that stood out to you?
No, I mean, I think we hit it. We hit all of it, and it's kind of gearing up for A. Malcolm.
Yeah. A. A.Ham.
A.Burr.
A.Burr. A.Malcolm.
Yes.
I just Ham for Outlander.
Ham for Outlander.
Okay, guys. So one more hour until our giveaway ends. So please go enter. The link is below. So please go enter. We will be off next week because Outlander is off next week. But the next time we see each other, you guys, we are going to be so happy. I can't wait to talk about A.Malcolm with all of you. So thank you guys again for watching and for hanging out with us and talking Outlander with us. We enjoy you guys so much, and I hope that you'll continue the conversation with us in comments. Find us on social media. Next week we might be off, but yeah, come find us on social media and let's chat some more. Katie, anything to add?
No, thank you guys so much. We have so much fun doing these, and we enjoy talking with you. So we'll see you October 22nd for A.Malcolm.
A.Malcolm. Okay, thank you guys. Have a great week. Have a great week.